Hello, brothers and sisters. We are here again at Church of the Ascension, and we have another interview. And the person that we are with today is an amazing guy, and he has an amazing story. And I remember the first time I met him, it was in a vestry meeting, and we had to pray for the person that it was on our right. And you know, now that you know me, I'm horrible with names. And I was trying to look at his name tag, and he said like, "Oh, you don't need to know my name because you don't know me." And actually, I know who he was because he was always sitting in the last pew at the church, and but I just didn't know his name. So today is visiting us Bob Waters. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And he's gonna tell us a little bit about his story and how you came to Ascension and what did you do in your professional life before. I know you have some amazing stories.
Well, Linda, my wife Linda, who's in the choir, and that's why I always sat in the back of the church, because I was a choir orphan. You know? But I move around too now. But we started out, I met Linda in Trinity Episcopal Church in Tacoma Park. We grew up in Tacoma Park, and she grew up in Tacoma, which is right on the district line. So Tacoma Park's in Maryland, and Tacoma's right in, but we went to Trinity Episcopal Church, and that's where I met her. She was in the choir, and I was an altar boy, and then eventually became a Sunday school teacher, and then the youth group leader there for 3 or 4 years. It was a very diverse parish, mostly African Americans and whites. And I worked for years as a youth leader there with Joyce Berthal, who was an African American woman who everybody just loved. And her kids were in the youth group, and eventually one of her kids, Kevin, came here. Eventually, but then he's out in California now. That was all after Vietnam, and then Linda and I got married, and we moved up here to Gaithersburg, and we were looking for an Episcopal church, and so lo and behold, one of my roommates, who when I first came back from Vietnam, was a guy named John Rabb, and he was back from Chicago where he was a school teacher, and he got a job here in Washington, a big job, but he got the call to become an Episcopal priest, so we went through the whole process and went to seminary up in Harvard. I think it's Harvard Seminary. I don't know what the real name of it is, but anyway, he came down here and got Ascension as the curate, and then deacon, and then as a priest. He was Harry's assistant, actually, but that's when we first came to Ascension. It was back in the 70s, and we were in the chapel. That was our main church. And then Linda and I started doing the youth group here, and we did it for a long, long time, and we were very successful with it. It was a great bunch of kids. And back then in the 70s, everything was personal growth. It was I'm okay, you're okay, transaction analysis, and everything. That was the big thing. So that's how we ran the youth group. We gave them the youth a chance to talk about themselves and talk about everything that was going on in their life. And it became very successful. We used music, and we used we had guest speakers come in who were knowledgeable, real professionals, to talk about suicide, drugs, sex, everything. And it was great. It really worked well, and I loved it, and the kids loved it. And of course, now they're all grown up and have their own kids and everything. But I still keep in contact with a lot of them, and it was just a great time for us. And then I was elected to the vestry early on in the 70s, and did that, and then continued to do the youth group and everything even after I was off the vestry. And Linda joined the choir then, and she loved the choir. And it was a big parish then, and we were outgrowing the chapel. And so my group of people, and that back then Our main thing that we did was we built this church that we're in now, and that was our main thing, is to build a new church and to open it up, to the community and everything, and it worked, and we built this beautiful church. So the church we're in now was because of a lot of people like the Dottie and Jerry Fadenera, Betty Knight and Kurt Davies, and all of us that are from the old crowd, built this church, and so we think it's a beautiful church. And if you notice, there's plaques on all the pews, and if you look at them, you'll see the names of the people. And you had to give money to get your pew, but it wasn't your pew.
Very Episcopalian.
Yeah, and everything, the stained glass windows where people gave money to have them built and everything. So it was really a great effort to get this church built. But we stayed. We love this church, and we've been here since Harry, who was the first rector, I think, that I remember, and to you, and we just love it. And I've never thought of leaving this church. I love the community. We love the diversity, the different. We have Africans, we have African Americans, we have Latinos, and we just love it. And everybody coming together once a month, and sometimes more than once a month for the one, and it's just great. And the feeling in this church, the excitement in this church is just terrific. And Linda and I just love that. And she, of course, loves the choir. And I'm on the vestry again now, and I got, I think, a year and a half more to go. But I really like it, and I love the people on that vestry. They're just hardworking, and just terrific people. Everybody on there, and of course we all love Javier, our priest in charge, and hopefully will be, and we know will be our priest fairly soon. And we hope that's our big hope. But I say, everything about this church we love, and that's why we give. We give to the church, and we give money to the church, and our time and our effort, because it's just a great community, and we really, I can't think, if I don't come to church or don't come to the things that the church offers, like the book club and the adventurers club and the choir for Linda and all the other things that this church offers that we go to, the blessing of the animals, which you did last week, that was so touching for us, because our dog died 2 weeks ago, and your dog died right after our dog died. And for you to bless the pictures even of our dog and your dog and all the other dogs, that was a touching and great service. But that's the type of thing that I love about this parish. And I've just made tremendous friends of all races. That's I worked in the civil rights movement back in the early 60s.
Yeah, I want you to tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, it was in the early 60s, right after high school. I graduated from Montgomery Blair High School in Silver Spring in 1962, and then got kind of involved because a priest at another church called Ascension Silver Spring was all involved in it, and his name was Brad Minturn. And my mother was the church secretary there, so we got involved with that, and we did a lot of the Glen Echo was a park that it was all for just white people, and we picketed it, we protested, and we got the park opened up to all races, and we did things like that. And that was, I was still a kid just right out of high school, but then we did other things, went to a lot of rallies down in DC and all over, and we did, and like I say, Trinity was very diverse, and that was a good time there too at Trinity, because it was the beginning of the civil rights movement in the district anyway, in our area, and it was exciting, and seeing the races come together, and it was just terrific for me and Linda, and I'll always remember that, and that's why I like this church so much now, that it's so diverse. And like I say, some of my just dearest friends and cherished friends are of other races here, and I just, plus whites, you know, there too. I mean, I love everybody. It's just a good atmosphere, and you have done that. You've made the atmosphere here so good for everybody. Then the civil rights, that was, you know, went on a couple things, you know, almost like freedom rides that were very, I mean, we got called names and we got, we were threatened and everything, but we got through it, and it was a hard time but an exciting time. And of course, we felt we were on the right, we were doing the right thing, and I still think we're doing the right thing.
And I remember you telling me something about like being Christian when you came back from Vietnam.
Oh, well, I went to Vietnam, and I joined the U.S. Navy, and I was on a ship for 2 years, and seasick the whole time. Bounced around like a cork. I was on a destroyer escort, but then I got orders for Vietnam on land to work on an ammunition dump. But before we had to do that, we had to go to survivor school, and that was rough. That was as rough as being actually in Vietnam, except in Vietnam it was live bullets. But my faith, you know, it was like I've been an Episcopalian my whole life. Something was there. My faith kept me going. My belief in God and Jesus kept me going through even the hardest times. And survivor school was hard. They put us in a prison camp for a week and put us in boxes and cages, and then would drag us out and interrogate us. And of course, we're just supposed to give name, rank, and serial number. And then when you did, you know, they would slap you around, throw you up against, and march us through the jungle of where they took us was I think an army camp in Virginia, out in nowhere, you know, middle of nowhere, and it looked like a jungle. And then they came after us and captured us and force marched us to this prison camp. And then we were in that prison camp. And the only thing that kept me going, because it was brutal. I mean, a lot of kids went, you know, and they were kids, 17 and 18, 19. I was 24 at the time. I was old considering when I did that. And what kept me going was my faith, knowing, you know, two things. Knowing that this is an exercise. They're trying to show us what's going to happen if you really do get caught in Vietnam, and it's going to be 10 times worse. But also that knowing that, you know, I just kept praying. And it sounds corny, and a lot of people, oh, that's so corny and everything, but I did that. And I did that in Vietnam. I got through survivor school, and that was brutal. I had marks on me because they didn't pull any punches. And they put us in coffins. They made us strip down and go down to the river, crawl down the river, get in the river, clean up, and then crawl back to the camp and put our uniforms on. And then they would come up and shoot M16s in your ear and say, why are you at this end? Go down to that end, and you go down to that end, and back and forth. And they were playing mind games. But, we got through it, and then we were shipped off to Vietnam. And the first day of Vietnam, it was, it was in the tropics, of course. Everybody gets sick the first 2 weeks. But it was fine. I was on an ammunition dump. And I said, well, this is not going to be too bad. I'm on an ammunition dump, in south of Da Nang. We'll never get hit. Boy, was I wrong. It seems like everybody on the other side, the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese, wanted to blow us up, and they tried. And we were in you'd run in to get into these bunkers, and the bombs are going off, and they're trying to blow us all up. And that went on the whole year I was there. What got me through was my faith. I kept praying and praying, and I wasn't the only one. There was a lot of macho guys there that didn't, I don't believe in God and all that. But I tell you, when those bombs started throwing in, it sounds like a cliche, I know, everybody was praying. Everybody was holding hands in these bunkers and just praying to God that we get out of this, and we did. Our ammunition dump, there was 3 of them, but ours called Ten Shaw, and then there was 2 others here. Ours got blown up pretty bad. They all did, but we only lost one person in a year, and that was kind of a fluke. He was just out in the open, you know, when the bombs started coming in. He should have been, because they did give you a red alert sign if they knew bombs were going to be coming in, if they were going to shell us. And he didn't hear it or something, and he got it. But I did see, I saw people shot, and I saw people blown up, and it's not like the movies. I mean, it's worse than anything you see in the movies or on video games, and that has stayed with me for my whole life. And but in a strange way, it made me a better person, because I appreciated life more and do, and I appreciate the power of prayer more than ever before. And I still pray all the time, and it helps me get through, you know, everything that happened to me in Vietnam. And you know, that was 60 years ago almost, but I still remember it, and I mean, it's just like it was yesterday. And same with survival school. I remember everything that happened in survival school, which was brutal. But the power of prayer and faith and the goodness, that people do have goodness in them, and I really believe that. Even some of the macho's biggest Marines that I work with, and macho guys and everything, they, you know, we worked together on that ammunition dump, and this one big guy, he was the biggest guy there. He must have been 6'7", and I stuck with him and we all had M16s and 45s we had to carry. But you know, I remember the first time we were going to get overrun, he grabbed me, he said, "Follow me, Bob," and I followed him, and I was shaking so bad. I was so scared. I was not a hero. I was scared. I couldn't get the clip into the M16. He grabbed my M16, put the clip in, put it on semi-automatic. He said, "You shoot when I say shoot." And I did. I don't know if I ever hit anybody. It was, you know, middle of night and everything, but we got them. They didn't take over. We ran them off somehow. And I'll never forget this. This guy turned to me. He says, "Let's say a prayer now, Bob." And we did. And he's this big macho, this cigar smoking Marine, and he prayed with me. And that, I'll always remember that. And it just even brings tears to my eyes now to think of that. And so you never know. You know, it's like you can't judge a book by its cover. I mean, you never know where people are coming from, and everybody's got a story. And that's kind of my story. It stayed with me, and the power of prayer. And I love the community of a church. I love our community, this church. And it's because the people are so great, and what we did, you know, what we did for Freddie. That when we all came together for Freddie, and to me that still brings tears to my eyes. How we all came, everybody, whites, blacks, Latinos, everybody came to Freddie's defense and to try to help him, and we did. I think we did help with our letters and our prayers and everything, and so that's why I like this church, and why Linda and I stay here all these years. We've been here 43 years. Linda and I have been married 44 years, and there's other people too, like the Faden Howards and Betty Knight, and there's a whole bunch of us that are still here, and we love this place, and I'll never leave until I die or something. And but that's basically my story, and that's why we give to this church, because I just think the world of this church and the people.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
And thank you for telling us your story, which I always think is amazing.
Yeah, the power of prayer is really, to me, I know different other people don't feel it, but to me, the power of prayer got me through the situations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of you for listening to Bob's story. And I hope to see you Sunday then.
You will see me Sunday.
And remember, if you like the video, just press the share button below, so more people can watch our interview. And if you want to join us in any of our services, we have Sundays 8, 10, and 12. The last one is in Spanish, and everybody's welcome to join us. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.